is going to go live and everyone is going to go silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But now we're all on that.
No one is going to have anything to say.
Well, we got all the weather talk.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we got all the weather talk out of the way. I think that's
Well,
probably
but people are going to want to. People are going to want to hear my, because there are already people are talking about this in the.
The weather talk was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Cool
We've only
project.
talked about weather on one of 8 planets in our solar system.
What about
we
the
have
other
7
ones?
more to go.
All right.
We're Earth
So
chauvinists.
So
that
so
way.
people are so hey everybody. Let's see. So,
Hi.
all right. So I'm the only one on the
Buckle
camera
up.
right now. Yeah, buckle up. Here, hold on a second. Before
Buckle
I'm gonna hide myself. This is the last time that you're gonna see me full screen on the camera for the rest of this episode. So I just wanted to get this out of the way right now. Welcome to a very special season finale of the Weekly Space Hangout. We have no plan. We have a lot of people, a lot of nonsense. So we kind of have two things. One is to just catch up and just chill out with you folks who are watching right now. Go ahead and hit us with your brutal questions. We've got exoplanetary specialists. I see we've got two exoplanetary researchers. I can see we've got some planetary scientists. We've got Molly, you're neutrinos, right? We got physicists. And we got me. So go ahead.
And me.
And
me.
Yeah. Oh, we got amateur astronomers, authors. Yeah.
Just a vlogger.
Authors.
Or-
Yeah. We got
Really
alien
good.
hunters. That's you, Beth.
Actual journalist.
All right.
Yes,
So-
Carolyn.
Actual journalist. What?
All right. So I'm putting back on the show. So, and people I think are asking like what happened with our weather. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was an unbelievable hell on earth nightmare. We hit 30. So we hit 39 degrees, 40 degrees here in my house on Vancouver Island, and nobody has air conditioning. So that's just
Every other day's gonna look great.
yeah, it's like,
Northern Maine's like that too when it's hot.
yeah, that's 40 degrees just straight up. Let's just like take it on the chin and just pray for mercy. So yeah, no, that was a hell of a thing. Hopefully now we're out the other side of it. So go ahead and prepare if you have any questions. But Morgan, the organized person. So first, I want to introduce everyone's here, and then we will get on with the one piece of news, but it may turn into other news. So, and I'll go quickly. We got Molly Wakeling. Hey, Molly.
Hello.
We've got the Nancy Graziano, who finally makes here on camera.
Yay.
We've got
Our
Kim Cartier.
hero and savior.
Yes.
Dr. Kim Cartier.
Hey.
Dr. Nick Castle.
Hello.
We got Pam Hoffman.
Hiya.
Beth Johnson.
Hello.
Carolyn Collins-Peterson.
Hi, everybody.
Dr. Morgan Medberg.
This is more people than we had even in the old days.
I know. That's too many people. Alex Tichy.
Hey, everyone.
And we got Dave Dickinson.
Hey, I've been here since the Google Plus days. That
Yeah,
kinda
you're right.
dates me.
Yeah, right from the beginning, I think.
Oh, Google Plus. That was a time.
Oh,
That's
Google
why
Plus.
it's still a hangout. That's why we still call it a hangout.
You plus
Oh,
one
yeah.
me?
Yeah. All right. So Morgan, you were the one who was organized, and like this is not like slight against anyone else who properly followed the instructions, which was to do nothing.
No instructions, folks.
Yeah,
He's
Morgan,
lying.
like the trooper that he is, brought some news. So Morgan, why don't you go ahead and hit us with your news? And
Here's
that
the good news: is this is kind of a grab bag story for everyone too. This is a really cool paper out of SETI that we published this week in Nature. And we think of SETI as the people who look out at the universe looking for life. But this paper is the opposite of that. They were looking out and asking who could find us. And so they took fresh Gaia data and used that Gaia data to not only measure the distances to various stars, but also their proper motions, so how they're moving relative to Earth. And the neat thing they thought about was we've detected most of our planets here from Earth using the transit method. And so it's reasonable to think that our alien overlords out there are also looking for their victims using the transit method. And so given what we know about our positions, thanks to Gaia, how many planets around us could identify us, identify the presence of Earth using the transit method? And then what could they learn about us? And so they looked at 100 parsecs, or about 320 light years, and they found that there were a couple of thousand planets out there that our position, or let me rephrase that. There are a couple of thousand stars out there that may have planets that are positioned such that they could see the Earth via the transit method, transiting across the sun. And then they said, okay, of those planets, how many might be habitable, or how many stars might be able to host habitable planets? And the answer is hundreds of those stars are Earth or sun-like stars, and over 1,000 of them are dwarf stars, which all are sort of reasonable places to imagine there might be planets. And then what could they learn? And it turns out that there are hundreds of planets out there that are close enough that they could probably use technology not that far more advanced than we have to measure the composition of the Earth's atmosphere. So they could be looking for the oxygen that sustains life here on Earth. And if they'd been observing us over the last couple hundred years, they could have been measuring the increase in carbon dioxide as we have, polluted the planet thanks to fossil fuels. And then a smaller subset of those planets are within 100 light years of Earth, where they would be able to detect our radio waves if they had a super duper radio antenna. And so I thought it was kind of just a neat way to look at this question of life in the universe from the opposite perspective. And it kind of reminds us that, sure, we're out there busy trying to find other life. But if there is life out there in the near neighborhood, it's totally reasonable to think that they're also out there looking for us. And we have, thousands of worlds potentially in the search party looking for Earth. And I think that's just kind of a fun way to conceptualize the universe around us.
Basically, the sweet spot is the ecliptic plane. If you're looking along the ecliptic, looking back, you would see the Earth transit. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stars.
I mean, like Earth is so small relative to the sun, and we were relatively far out for compared to the types of planets we've detected with transit method, that there's really only a very tiny swath of the sky above and below the ecliptic plane where you could actually see Earth transit.
Yeah.
Just because we're so small and comparatively far away.
Well, Morgan was saying with proper motion, stars are drifting in and out of that for different epochs.
Yeah, so over the last 1,000 years or so, we've lost about 300 stars that were able to observe the Earth in transit and no longer can. And over the next couple thousand years, we will gain several hundred more. And so this is something we don't really think about when we talk about the transit method, is that if you want to use that to monitor a planet over time, say doing transmission spectroscopy of the atmosphere, not every orientation and not every movement over time is going to enable the sorts of long baseline observations that are actually necessary if we want to see trends like increasing carbon dioxide or decreasing oxygen that some people have suggested as a principal biosign.
Yeah. Alex, you're someone who relies on this kind of data. Is the transit method not long for science? Are we going to shift over into better systems, do you think?
Well, I think it's going to be around for a while. I mean, direct imaging is really where we want to go, obviously. I mean, once we get direct imaging, we've got it now, but we could always improve. There's challenges with direct imaging, now we're trying to separate the planet from the star. So, just like any sort of other perspective, the closer stars are going to have a wider separation. The farther away you go, they get closer and closer and closer. And right now, the best that we can do really is see these planets that are way out from their star, and usually young planets that are basically shining by their own infrared light. So, to see proper Jupiter analogs or Earth analogs is down the line, but I think that's where it's going to go. In the meantime, the transit method is still, I think, basically the best we've got, because we can just gather so much data with Kepler and K2 and TESS. We can just stare at the sky and just monitor how bright these stars are, and it's just like a relatively very cheap way, much cheaper than radio velocities or really anything else that we've got, and it's comparatively easy to analyze this data. So I think it's going to be around with us for a little while, whether extraterrestrial astronomers are going to be using this transit method. I think in 100 years, maybe our direct imaging is going to be to a point where transit method is obsolete, or maybe sooner than that even. So whether or not extraterrestrials might be using transit method, I don't know. So someone told me one time we get into trouble when we start gaming out the psychology of extraterrestrials a little too much, because they could have very different priorities, or way up just 100 years, 200 years in advance, they might be thinking very differently about things. So but anyway, transit method rocks. It's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Well, I mean, it's helped us confirm these planets exist, but not necessarily like it's giving us a sample, but it's not going to give us the comprehensive version.
Right.
Beth.
Yeah, and transmission spectroscopy, right? I mean, that's also sort of where we're going with JWST, like be able to really sniff these atmospheres. You can do that with the transit method too, and that's really exciting. I mean, we just get so much information from this one data source.
Beth, what is the SETI Institute? How do they feel about this kind of idea? This news, I'm sure this is running around your desk this week.
Not as much as you might think, but I know we're interested in it, and I'm trying to see if we can get maybe some of the scientists to come talk on one of our shows. But anything that narrows down the search is always a good prospect. There are a lot of stars and a lot of planets and a lot of things to look for. So anytime we get our hands on a data set that sort of has a nice little narrow window in it, that's a good thing for us to have, because then we can just aim the telescopes that way and see if we find anything.
All right. So I wanted to give Molly a chance to let us know what we should be looking at this summer. We went through it a bit with Pam last week, but what are you going to have your eyes on over the summer hiatus?
Summertime is the time of the Milky Way. This is where we get our best view of the core of the Milky Way, since the nighttime side of the Earth is facing the core of the galaxy during the summertime, whereas in the wintertime we're facing away from it at nighttime. So this is a good time to catch all those big, gorgeous nebula that are all along the Milky Way. Several in Sagittarius, such as the Eagle Nebula and the Lagoon Nebula, and which are kind of a little lower in the sky for those of us in the north, nice and high for the people in the south. My cat's trying to eat my leftover dinner food here. And even away from the core of the Milky Way, which is kind of low altitude for us up here in the north, if you look up above your head, you have the constellation of Cygnus. And Cygnus is home to a number of enormous, gorgeous nebulae, but it's also where the Kepler Space Telescope was primarily pointed at the beginning of its mission to search for exoplanets. So, and there was some thousands that were discovered just in 1 square degree of sky up in this star-packed region of Cygnus. So it's cool to also look up there and know that at least some of those, actually a lot of those stars that you're looking at probably also have exoplanets, even if you can't see them with your eye. There's also, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
There's also a comet on the way. I don't have the name of it in my head at the very moment, but
Are you talking about Comet Leonard?
It's a really big one.
The big one, the dwarf planet one.
Yes,
that's like another decade.
But it's not gonna come in very far. I think I heard it's only gonna really get as far in as like Saturn's orbit as far as its distance from us.
Still, we'll be able to see it, right? Probably.
Is that
it's like 12th, 13th magnitude, maybe.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's interesting, but
no, it's within reach of photography on a big telescope for sure. It'll be dim, but you could see it with a camera on a telescope. If it does get to 11th magnitude, if you go to somewhere with dark skies, you should probably be able to tease that out with a large enough telescope. But yeah, no great show this summer as far as we know so far. So
that's like 2031.
That area's got a lot of globular clusters, though. Like in 1991, we went down to La Paz to see the total solar eclipse. God, 7 minutes. You're so spoiled. And at night, we're looking at the teapot, and all of those in there looked like the steam coming off it. I mean, it was incredible. Beautiful, pristine skies. Nobody had lights there hardly. It was just amazing. So globular clusters and open clusters.
we-
That's what does it for me.
We don't
Also a good
realize
time.
how much of the Milky Way we're missing until you go down to the
Yes.
southern hemisphere and take a look
Yes.
where it's right overhead. We only see the very northern tip of it from North America up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
Yeah,
got
it gets cut off almost like just about halfway across the bulk of it. We can see to the actual center of the galaxy, or where it would be if it wasn't obscured with
All the
vast
cool stuff.
But
like
a lot of stuff is cut off and is below the horizon for us. And if you ever get the chance to, I got to go to Chile 2 years ago.
Oh, cool.
And
Nice.
there's even more incredible nebula and globular clusters and open clusters when you're down south there, and the Milky Way is right over your head, so the nebula pop out a lot more, and the planets too are overhead, so they're much sharper.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta just say, it does remind me. I was also in Santiago about 2 years ago, and we went out. I was down there for a conference with a bunch of astronomers, and they took us out to a dark sky. And there is nothing like standing out and looking at the sky with a bunch of astronomers. And I feel like
Yep.
get that experience, whereas like most people don't. People in the audience are maybe like the only person that they know that's like really enthusiastic about the sky and maybe pointing out stuff in the sky. And their friends are like, yeah, that's cool. But to actually like hang out with 20, 30 astronomers and just the hush that comes over everyone, we're all just
Right.
standing. And all
I
looking
know
at-
the fix for that.
It's really an
Fine.
incredible experience.
Find somewhere in your area and host a star party. That is a great way to get a whole bunch of people together. Even if it's cloudy, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Rain, harder, but yeah, star party, either cloudy or clear. Fantastic. And most of these people are super, super civilized, nice, decent folks. So it's wonderful.
we got a question that came in on the last story from a random TV Lee 3. In other planetary systems, does the ecliptic plane and the galactic plane line up more or less? I'm going to throw this one to Kimberly.
Oh, put me on the spot there.
So do planetary plane ecliptics and the galaxy line up?
No, they don't. Star systems can be oriented in any which way they want to be oriented. It's a pretty random distribution. So some of them might have the band of the Milky Way running right through the ecliptic plane in line with any other planets that might be in orbit around the star. Some of them might be perpendicular. It could be any which way. And for that matter, the planets themselves don't have to be aligned. It's their orbital plane don't have to be aligned with the star's rotational plane.
Nope. Ours
It could be knocked any which way that it wants. So we're pretty fortunate that we can, see all of our planets all in a line. Well, Pluto. Shh. We're pretty fortunate that we can see the Milky Way in both the northern and southern hemisphere, but it's not a guarantee anywhere else.
Yeah. So one story that we're not going to be seeing much of this summer is, because we're going to be on hiatus, but we've been talking about every week, and that's Perseverance and of course Curiosity. Nick, what do you think that we're going to be hearing from NASA and discoveries on Mars over the summer? What are we going to miss out on since we're not going to be doing shows?
Well, one of the things that we're doing with Curiosity is we're trying to get into the sulfate-bearing unit, which is a major geologic transition on Mars. We're going from where we had pretty normal-looking sediments, clays, that sort of stuff, into where we had evaporite deposits. And we're really trying to start to cross that boundary and get into the sulfates and figure out, well, what is this? And the next few months should be pretty critical as we really, we keep getting to that boundary. My question is exactly when will we cross it?
Someone on my YouTube channel commented. They said, "Now that we've got Perseverance, do we even need Curiosity? Why don't we just shut it off?"
Oh,
it's like what?
That's sad. That hurts my heart a little.
I know. Like that thing should be going, for another 20 years.
Probably not that long. The RTG will stop producing significant amounts of power long before 20 years. We've probably got kind of 6-ish years, maybe 8.
I'm calling it
left
20 years. I have faith in NASA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Are we going to see some stuff from InSight? That's their team.
Maybe we'll get a big Mars quake that it is able to do.
Well, they
I thought they had something recently that they
Oh,
found.
they've
More
had
things.
many
I
Mars
want the
quakes.
more things.
Yeah, they had like 500 quakes, but I think the big news is that InSight isn't dead, which is good news.
That's right. Yay!
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's the news.
It's
Are
not.
they
dead.
are they still flying the drone around? I haven't really tuned into that lately.
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
so-
they extended this mission a bit longer. It was originally slated for 30 days, and I think they extended it to 90.
Wow.
And if
that's
it's still
amazing.
running, I would anticipate that they'll keep extending it because
That's good.
there's a lot you can learn from doing something like that for the first time.
The dust isn't getting in the way. I thought that was going to be a big problem on Mars. Is the dust would get into the rotor and all the all the pieces.
Perseverance needs to last long enough for the sample return to land next to it so it can actually film it coming down.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to
Awesome.
loop back to your question about why not shut down Curiosity, Perseverance, and for that matter, InSight are very different missions with very different science goals. They have very different tools to try to answer those. And so they're doing different stuff all the time. Curiosity was really designed as a science lab. It's trying to answer a lot about what's going on with the geology and are there potential biomarkers, are there environments that could have been habitable? Perseverance, on the other hand, is actually trying to identify signatures that biology was actually there, not just could be, but was, and collect samples for return for terrestrial laboratories. Those sound related, and they are, but they're very different, and the tools you use for them are very different. So, like every NASA mission, we hope it keeps going for as long as it's useful. And right now, it's still very useful. So please keep it going.
All right. So one big story that we're going to miss this summer is Jeff Bezos and his brother climbing on board a Blue Origin rocket, flying to the edge of space, returning safely to Earth, or just remaining in space as the Change.org petition has requested. We'll see if he kowtows to that. Morgan, how do you whose odds do you like the best this summer for which billionaire is going to be flying to the edge of space first on his private tourism?
A new era in which billionaires get to do things the rest of us don't?
Yes.
It's shocking. I think Bezos is much more likely to complete his mission than, say, Branson is with Virgin Galactic. They've been talking a big talk Virgin Galactic for years.
Yep.
And even when it seems like they're weeks or months away from a launch, we've heard that story year after year. So I think Bezos and Blue Origin are going to win that because Blue Origin, while they've been pretty low profile, have sort of met all of the milestones that they've set out for themselves. One might wonder if they should be setting more ambitious milestones, but the ones that they have said they're going to do, they have done. And New Shepard seems like it works well, which is something that I would want if I was going to climb on a rocket for the first time with people on board. I think the big question this summer will be what happens with the Starship orbital launch. So SpaceX is working towards flying the Super Heavy and putting Starship on board, and it could be as early as I think August. I think that their permit allows as early as August, or who knows, not in 2022. But that's going to take, I think, meaningful steps forward. And seeing something like Super Heavy blast off is going to be amazing, and will sort of return us to an era of sort of mega space launches that we haven't had for at least since the space shuttle was retired in 2011. And so I think Musk will be the last one of all of these gentlemen to get to space, but I think he's okay with that because I think when he does get there, it's going to be in a way that is dramatically different than all of these other ones that are going to look like also-rans if Starship works as predicted.
Yeah.
His car's already up there, and he's just gonna go live out his days on Mars or something.
And live out of his car if he wants.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I'd say that
He's got to be a little ambitious because his parking ticket is just about up in the asteroid belt. So he's got to go retrieve the Tesla.
I think he can pay the ticket off.
I'd say that.
And I suspect it's not red anymore either.
SpaceX has had an amazing launch tempo this year. It's like they've done
once every 9 days.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty incredible how many launches they've done. there was one just this afternoon from the Cape. So,
I mean, they've launched more times this year than Blue Origin has launched ever. And so that's not necessarily a slight towards Blue Origin, although one might think it should be. But it suggests that they're pursuing very different trajectories. And so while Blue Origin and Bezos might sort of get people in space first, I think they're not on a path that's even similar to what SpaceX is doing. And then the question becomes whether SpaceX's path is the right one, or let me rephrase, a successful one, or not. And we'll have to wait probably until 2022 at least to really know that.
And,
the more the merrier from my perspective.
Yeah, you need competition. That's my worry, is that SpaceX is running away with this and without any kind of competition. We've seen that that even United Launch Alliance has been having some problems getting access to these Blue Origin BE-4 rockets, and that was part of their Vulcan system that would provide their version.
And Vulcan has slipped in next too.
So actually, there was a great conversation on Twitter between Tori Bruno and Elon Musk about that, and Tori was showing off the construction of the Vulcan, and Elon Musk was chatting with him, and he invited Elon Musk to come and see the construction, and Musk said, "Should I bring a bunch of engines?"
Rocket Lab's going to start launching out of Wallops here next month too. Yeah. The capstone mission that's going to be the Lunar Gateway Pathfinder, that's launching. So they're going to start doing stuff here out of NASA Wallops in Virginia starting next month. So that launch tempo is going to pick up here too.
And so the only one that looks like they're even standing any kind of chance is of competing directly is Relativity Space. They've announced their version. They're the ones who are building like mostly 3D printed rockets, and they've actually they've announced a fully reusable rocket. They got like a gigantic investment a couple of weeks ago, but nobody else is going after that same prize of full reusability. So,
yeah, the question is whether they can be price competitive. You know, just today, SpaceX launched the second rideshare mission, including a bunch of government satellites. And for that mission, they were advertising prices as low as $1 million to put 200 kilograms in sun synchronous orbit. Wow. Nobody else, even these small Rocket Lab type people, nobody else is like a factor of 10 towards that price.
And Electron is much tinier,
unless you need to have your thing in like the world's most precise orbit, is there going to be a market for these people, or is it going to just be the SpaceX school bus, you know, throwing satellites out the back every week? And it doesn't really matter, as long as you'd rather spend a little bit more on fuel than 10 times more just to get to space.
Yeah, I mean, even like folks at NASA, just the savings to get missions that cheap is like, it's double the mission. You get to have 2 missions for the price of 1. It's nice. It's the way to go.
Better than the doldrums. God, I remember. It was terrible.
Like back in the 90s, back in the 90s.
I was going to say the 90s.
Yeah, nothing
it was
flew.
sad. We were all sad.
Yeah, nothing flew ever.
It was hard.
Well, I was just reminiscing about, circa 2009, right at the beginning of the Obama administration, how much consternation there was within NASA about commercial space. And I think that's just, it was a long time ago now, but I mean, I think they've really been proven wrong. I mean, just remember these testimonies from NASA astronauts being like, no, we can't be doing this. It's really going to be a huge disaster. It's going to be a huge brain drain. And boy, it's just been so successful. It's amazing.
Well, I think part of that too is it was the only system they knew. And now we've got, everybody proving that this can be done. I mean, just today we're sitting there watching yet another reusable booster sitting back down on the pad. It's an amazing view. It's an amazing view when Blue Origin does it. And it's almost become, I don't want to say commonplace, because it's still really cool to see it happening, but it has just become something that we expect to see. The other thing that I think has been really cool is that SpaceX has just outdone NASA and everybody else in terms of the PR around their missions. When you go to watch these launches and the landings, they explain everything over and over. We all know what max Q is now. We don't have to question that. Right. Anybody watching this, they know every little step of what's going to happen. And we expect that camera to come on when it's just past max Q. And we expect all the things that we see. They've actually really could teach other systems a really good lesson about the good PR.
Yeah. So another story that's unfolding.
We'd stop having to use NASA's like 440 DPI feed.
Yeah. So another
we're getting high
story
res.
that is unfolding now is there's sort of two parts to this. So we've got two fully occupied space stations flying overhead now. We have, of course, the International Space Station, which is chock full of Americans and Russians. And we've got the Chinese space station, which has a crew of 3 on board right now, apparently enjoying 100 different meals.
There's still 11 people in space now. I know there's a website.
Is that right?
tells-
Yeah.
last I looked, it was 11. I'm like, wow, that's cool. We're in double digits now.
And then at the same time, of course, we've got a lot of great science coming back from China, from their Zhurong rover on Mars. So, I mean, at this point, and of course China's announcing that they're going to build a base on the moon with the Russians. They're going to be probably sending humans to Mars. I mean, are we getting a lot more countries getting into this space exploration game?
How's your Mandarin, people?
And how?
I know May from.
I believe India wants to start doing crewed launches either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And then SLS, in theory, is going to get off the pad maybe this year. So,
yeah. And we've got
I think there's a bigger bar for entry on the crewed missions, these long-term things. That's a little bit more expensive and difficult to do than just, we're lobbing up all these things that are uncrewed. But, I would really be interested in talking to people who have a lot more insight into the Chinese program about how that's being sold at home, too.
It's huge. The people that I've talked to in China, they're pretty excited. Like if you go to like Weibo or WeChat and you look at the threads, whenever there's space stuff happening, there's mountains more that's making its way into Western media. There's only like one journalist who's doing a good job, Alex Jones. No, sorry,
Andrew Jones.
Andrew Jones. Yeah, Alex Jones is someone else.
We should totally get him on the show next season.
Andrew Jones. I keep nagging him to come and be a guest.
When I have to write about Chinese space flight, I usually read his Twitter feed first.
Yeah, he's the source.
Yep. It's the place to go.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised we're not in a new space race with China. It's very, very strange to me.
I think we are.
I think we are. We just don't know we are yet, or we haven't admitted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
no doubt
rather hard.
There's no doubt technically that they're there.
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think the not admitting it is probably the bigger thing there.
It's part that we're not admitting it, but it's also part that they have yet to make that confidence jump to be willing to broadcast things in real time. Even the Soviets shared a lot more than the Chinese are sharing now. And it's hard to be in a space race with somebody when they're not even going to tell you what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Russians did that for decades.
They're there now from a technical standpoint. I think they're second to NASA unquestionably in terms of what they can accomplish in space. Okay. But until they're willing, this is not the 1960s. Until they're willing to flash this up in real time on YouTube, people outside of China aren't going to be able to pay attention to it. And it sort of belies a real lack of confidence in their system, even if they should have confidence, because they're not willing to just sort of take it on the chin like NASA when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But that's, that seems very consistent with what the Soviet Union was doing, right? I mean, there's been speculation. I'm sure there's space historians that know more about this. There's been speculation, right, that Yuri Gagarin wasn't the first.
Yeah, I've heard that theory. Yeah.
And so, the successes get broadcast and the failures get swept under the rug. And that's been sort of the difference between a closed system and more open system like
it's a
NASA
different time, though. People don't get their news from the newspaper. People want to watch things happen.
I get it, but China is not so concerned about what space watchers in the U.S. think. They'll show the successes and the failures. I think they're very likely to sweep them under the rug for in the short term. Anyway.
Alex, I'd be interested to know from your viewpoint where you are. I've noticed, and I read a lot of the English language translations of press from China about this, and a lot of it is very, I don't want to say it's rah-rah, but some of it is sometimes infused with this idea of they're criticizing us in the West. We are doing this great thing and they're criticizing us. It's almost as if they're trying to build up an audience there that didn't really know about it before, or maybe there's a question about how well it's working. And again, I'm reading translated material, so I'm sure I'm missing some of the context. But the people I've worked with in China have been extremely proud of everything that their space program's doing. But they're the people that are working in museums. They're more knowledgeable about what's happening, and they have access to that information. I don't know how that plays out in the general population.
Well, I mean, my viewing of this so far is just like there's a million things. I mean, like there's tons and tons of people who are on their version of YouTube who are sharing videos and just showing off rocket launches and going to museums and giving you play-by-play. Like it's just the fact that it's in a completely different language makes it really hard to jump across. You do need to have people like Andrew who are translating and sort of spreading this stuff into a wider audience. There's actually a ton of stuff that's going on there. It's a pretty vibrant and pretty excited space community.
They need to stop dropping boosters on villages. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Well, and
launching from Central Asia, we launch from Cape Canaveral, you can go straight out over the ocean.
Yeah.
To the middle of China, things are going to fall down.
They're
Dave,
building a launch site near the coast, though, aren't they?
Yes, they do have a launch site near the coast.
In Hainan,
Yeah.
In terms of communication, one thing that would actually really help, right now we've got a pretty blanket embargo on anyone from NASA spending any money to talk to anyone on China, or for that matter, talking to anyone on China.
ITAR
and since ITAR and some. I mean, China's a special case that's worse than ITAR. It's no, really, you can't talk to them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that really makes it hard for the community at large to get that kind of insider feedback because officially, we don't have the foggiest clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I was applying for jobs, I'm working here in Taiwan for anyone who's not aware of that, but I was applying for several jobs in China, and I was concerned specifically about the lockout with respect to Chinese astronomers, Chinese space science, and what that would mean for me working in China. To be locked out from NASA facilities, for example. Some people said it was not as big of a deal, but certainly something that I was concerned about. I regret that we don't have better relations on a science basis, especially since we've been able to bridge the gap politically so successfully with Russia, right? We have political differences between Russia and the United States, but at least in space, we more or less cooperate. And it seems like there's opportunities there with the Chinese space programs as well.
So someone's asking in the
there's
chat.
a little bit of an embargo,
Dave.
even at the level I was working at, with people in the museum sector. We could talk about all kinds of things, but they drew the line at asking us about what NASA was doing. And then when we got to the section of the exhibits that we were talking about, their space program, there was a door closed. We couldn't talk about it. Or they couldn't tell us anything about it other than we knew about Long March. Of course, we knew about the very things that they will, publicize. But getting into details, all of a sudden the door's closed, and it was a two-way door closing.
Dave, people are asking if we can see the Chinese space station in the same way that we can see the U.S. one.
You can see it with naked eye. Yeah, it's not as bright, but it's bright enough I've seen it several times pass over. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, what's kind of cool is they sync up in their orbits because it's in a different inclination in the ISS. But we had a pass over Virginia here a few weeks ago where we saw the International Space Station and the Chinese station at the same time.
Like going.
So, they were kind of moving, and some people got some photos of it. But and I was looking, and it's like every few weeks they do kind of sync up where you have to be right in the exact place. I'm waiting for somebody like Thierry Legault to get like an image of both transiting the sun at the same time.
I'm sure he's got it worked out.
Oh, he'll do it too.
Yeah.
He'll do it.
Yeah. I can see that happening.
During an eclipse with a transit of Mercury at the same time or something crazy.
And a plane. Don't forget the plane.
That's amazing.
The plane.
And there will be an airplane going the opposite direction.
Yeah. All right. Nancy, you've been silent, but I want to give you a chance to let us know what plans you have for the Weekly Space Hangout for during the hiatus and for the hopefully for the coming season.
Well, for hiatus, the first thing we're all going to do is just relax for a couple weeks. Everybody worked hard during the year and definitely deserve a break. But I put out a survey. We're thinking about starting some Ask Me Anythings / AMAs. Because a lot of the guests that we've had, there's tons of amazing questions that our community present and ask.
Yeah.
But because of time constraints and whatnot, they just don't get passed on. So for a couple of years, we've been talking about doing AMAs, didn't really know how to do it. But we're going to try to do at least one a month, hopefully moderated by some of our journalists here. We're going to start recruiting some new early career journalists, and we have one of them with us tonight, Nick. Welcome to the team.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, I think I guess one of the things that we really shifted after Kimberly, Morgan, and Paul got so busy with their amazing careers and were only able to give us a little bit of their time. Nancy and I were kind of going back to basics and trying to think of like what is the core of what we really want to do? What is the thing we're most proud of for the Weekly Space Hangout? And the thing that we're most proud of is to give people an opportunity who want to be communicators, science journalists, want to be able to speak with the public, who just don't have practice yet, and to have a fairly safe environment where someone who kind of, who wants to reach out, wants to be able to get more practice doing that, this is an environment where we can do it. And then you as the viewers can watch along as we go through this process. But it's more about helping them become better journalists than it is about making the best show that we can, if that makes any sense. We're always going to err on the side of let's give people a chance to get lots of flight time in connecting with the public and being asked questions on the spot, having to come up with answers on the fly. I'd be interested to know from, say, Morgan and Kimberly, in either what impact did that process have on your ability to be a science communicator?
I've always thought of this show as sort of like Saturday Night Live, where I wouldn't say it's always a good show, but like the people and the experiences that come out of it are, go on to live way beyond what the show is. And I say that with sort of the most love and endearment that, SNL has lasted for decades, despite not always being consistent, because they've always had a good cast. And that cast has then gone on to do amazing things. And I think, we've graduated a lot of people out of Weekly Space Hangout over the years. And I think we will graduate many more people in the coming years. But that is only a sign of how successful it's been. And it was a huge benefit for me to practice almost weekly for years in just coming to have to, answer a question from any angle. And when I started, a long time ago, I would basically pre-write everything I was going to say. And then now it's like, if I remember an hour in advance to pick a story, then I'm feeling like, wow, I'm on top of things. And it's that progression from stressing about it for days to not thinking about it until the last minute that is sort of illustrates the what it's been for me. And I'm incredibly grateful for all the experiences that I've had.
Okay, so now I have to follow up with that, because that was an amazing speech right there, and I'm going to showcase that I'm not always the best improv speaker. I do still sometimes write some of my remarks, and I always write down my numbers, even if I can't always read them correctly on air. Sorry about that, folks. But I totally agree with everything that Morgan said, including the SNL comment, because that was pretty great. Yeah. I was going to say this isn't always the most polished of shows. I was going to say polished. That was going to be my approach to it. But it's always fun. It's always informative. I always feel like I come out of a taping as a better journalist. And as Morgan said, you have to learn to look at the story that you want to present from so many different angles, and to see it from the perspective of someone who has no idea what you're about to say. And sometimes you don't even know what you're about to say. And it sort of anticipate the questions that they're going to have. And I'm not going to recommend that you go back and watch some of my early shows from like 2015. Please don't do that. It will not be fun for me. But I have felt myself becoming a better storyteller over the years. Like the more experience I get at telling the story from beginning to end, figuring out what the most important parts are that are not just like important for the scientific discovery, but the things that people are going to want to hear about. The things that will capture the audience's interest. And now in my career as a science writer, as a journalist, I do that for a living, just with, the written word and not with the spoken word. But I would say it's made me a better storyteller.
Awesome.
Those insights are really great for me because I've been doing this for 2 years now, so I'm kind of like mid-level, and I know Nick is new. But yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, I could do that. So thank you, both of you.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've sort of shown that it's possible to do something like this.
It's awesome. It's awesome to get that perspective.
Like, having been on the show for so many years, I'm like, I want to keep being on the show for so many years. But I've just loved seeing how many people have started being part of Weekly Space Hangout and getting to see them progress and become better hosts, better journalists, better storytellers, like as the years go on, whether they stay with us or not. It's just so wonderful to see so many new faces who are interested in doing something like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, I just want to quickly give props to Fraser, who I think is really a fantastic MC for all of this. I mean, coming in week after week, and doesn't matter what the subject is, always got insightful questions to ask, keeping us, on the most interesting points of the story, jumping from thing to thing to thing. And I have marveled at it every single time how you run this show.
He's like the godfather of
Likewise.
literally
Anytime one of us is
science
floundering,
journalists.
Fraser's always there to throw us a line. It's perfect.
Yeah.
You're
amazing.
awesome, Fraser.
Free universe today.
How he ties things together and asks good questions that the audience is certainly wondering, and also fills in the gaps of like stuff that I think I know and actually get wrong. It's like, no, it's actually this. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Kim, you really meant to say parsecs, didn't you?
That comes up at least once a show. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Arjone is noting the show makes doctors. We are a doctor factory. I
will say the ability to answer all of the random audience questions plus Fraser's questions what made my PhD defense a lot easier. Like it was a lot less stressful
totally
to like
unscary than like hundreds of faceless internet people.
Yeah.
Like,
you know
I
how
know
scary
these
it
people.
is to like do this in front of the anonymous public on YouTube? That's scary.
Yeah.
There's professors who already know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, Kimberly, I wish I'd had that when I was defending mine
Yeah.
many years ago. It would have been so much easier.
Well, I mean, I think Moya.
I have to say, I would rather talk to a faceless bunch of YouTubers than my professors. I'm scared of mine already.
Oh no, you need to just be in the. You need to be do. You
when
need to
you're
do
ready,
more
you
shows.
won't feel that way.
Yeah.
When you're ready, you won't feel that way. It'll be piece of cake.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, my master's defense wasn't so bad, but I don't know. I feel like the pressure is a little higher, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Who did we graduate this season?
Moya.
Is that
Alex.
just Moya?
Well,
Alex, you were before.
I finished in August 2020, so.
okay, so yeah, we did Moya.
In between
this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also just
Yeah,
wanted to say,
Moya just
by the
posted
time you're
on Twitter
defending-
today. Moya just posted on
Yeah,
Twitter
she-
today that she got
she
all of
actually-
her diplomas.
Got it in the mail. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
That's
good.
cool.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, that's well. So, I mean, talk about take it to the next level, right? Moya live streamed her PhD defense. That's
Wow.
that's
That's
badass.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
hardcore.
Yeah, that's to take it to the next level.
hardcore.
Yeah.
It's bad enough getting phone call questions from one of my defense members that was in a different country. Getting it from random audience members, whether during the defense or some weeks after.
Yeah. Yeah. Arjone is doing so. We need to get Chris.
Chris is next, I think.
Chris is next, I think, for sure. But
I've got about
Nice.
2.5 years left for me. So
Okay,
All
so
right.
oh, good. Yeah.
One thing I can say about a defense Whether it's a master's or a PhD, by the time you're defending it, you are the expert on that subject. Yeah, sure, your panelists know more about their individual areas than you do because they've been at it for longer. But on that one thing that you're presenting, you're the expert.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my advisor told me before I walked in the door that day, was you're the world's expert. Don't let them give you any crap. And
Nice.
it helped a lot.
Hey, Fraser, there are a couple. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, there's some questions? Go ahead.
Good.
Pam, no. You see some questions? I'm going to let you. You're in charge now. Do it.
Just wanted to make sure we talk about there's at least 3 more things this summer that would be really cool. National Moon Day is on the July 20th. There's a meteor shower on July 29th and August 12th, 13th as well. And the Perseids, that's the big one. That's going to be in August, people.
Yeah. This is a good year for them too, because the moon is new, like just a few days prior. So.
Right. That's right. It's going to be a good one. I think it's not so good for the Delta Aquariids.
Yeah, no, the Perseids are the big one.
It's like a couple of days after the full moon or something like that. So,
but 10 to 20 an hour, that's not exciting.
Alex, there's a question in the chat for you from Alexis Despland. I hope I pronounced that right, Alexis. She's wondering, does Taiwan have its own space program?
Not a space program. I think, well, we have rockets. I'm not really up on that personally. I don't know. I'm Fraser probably knows.
I don't.
Maybe someone else in the room knows.
China probably won't let them.
I think they have an agency, but I don't think they have a program per se. It's like a science agency.
I don't know that we do. I work at Academia Sinica, which is sort of the national academy, this national science academy in Taiwan. So we've got a bunch of astronomers, although not that many. Whenever I meet people around here and I tell them they're astronomers, they're often amazed that there are astronomers in Taiwan. I'm talking about Taiwanese people. So there's not that many of us around, but there are a few. But as far as space program, I actually don't know really what they do with that at all.
You should start one.
Well, no, there is one. So the National Space Organization is in
Hsinchu,
yeah.
Yeah, they use Wade Giles. Hsinchu, yeah.
So that's what Fraser does. He looks for stuff while we're talking.
Fraser. New bamboo.
Hsinchu, new bamboo. Okay.
He doesn't just know everything.
Goja Taikong Zhongshin is the name of the place. Okay. That's cool. So they've got a bunch of labs. They do. They built an ion probe back in 2010.
I was gonna say satellites. I've heard about satellites.
So they work on. So they do a bunch of satellites.
Yeah.
So
and
they've
have
got
other countries launch them, I think.
Triton is a microsatellite.
Yeah, we actually there's a rocket on one of the banknotes.
Yeah.
It's one of the more unusual banknotes. It's either a 200 NTD or a 2000 NTD, but one of them's got a rocket on it. So I took notice of that. So they're a rocket. We got something going on.
Yeah, that's cool.
Kind of like the $2 bill in the United States. Nobody sees them anymore.
Yeah, you can only get them from the ATM. It's good. They're kind of weird.
Got it. Okay.
So has anyone got anything interesting planned for the summer?
More shows every Friday night. We're going to be talking about.
So you're not taking a break.
Nope.
If anything, you're doubling down. All right.
Star parties too. I think I'll be able to hold again. We've been doing live star parties for a few years, and then we couldn't do them. And we can actually see the Milky Way as close as we are to Los Angeles. It's amazing what we can see out in the national park here in our area. I'm blown away every year. It's like, wow.
Well, Pam, I live up in the Rockies, and we've had people saying, why can't we have star parties up here? And now that the pandemic now that, a large number of our people up here anyway have been vaccinated, I've been asked to have a star party. So the day of the fair for our county, that night we're all going to troop out onto the fairgrounds and we're going to have a star party. We should be able to see very clearly to the south, so we can see the Milky Way in the center of it. And if we're lucky, if it doesn't clear up, we can probably see Venus, and it'll be right after the full night of the full moon. So we'll have about an hour before the moon gets to be a real impingement, and then we'll just all look at the moon.
Yeah,
so
we
I'm
got a nice
star party this summer.
We got a nice north-south corridor, especially south because it's kind of over the ocean there, from our location in the national park. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, I'm moving to our new property in about 2 weeks or so, and I bought a chainsaw. So that's
Oh my God.
That's so my job is to murder a lot of trees.
You're gonna be done moving by the time the show picks
Yeah,
up
we
again
should
in
be.
September?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
gonna,
good.
but it is gonna get weird. I'm gonna be living out of a trailer, so I could very well be running the show out of a trailer for a couple of months in the fall, depending on whether we do that or whether we move to an Airbnb or go on the road. I'm warning
luck, man.
everybody, things are gonna get weird in the fall for me, for sure.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Moving is hard.
Yeah.
I guess
yeah.
it may be time for me
Fraser,
to
one
look.
thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going
One
to say.
thing that we had to think about for the summer too, the story that I'm following is what's going to happen with Hubble, because the last press release I got was this afternoon, and they're going to start trying to turn on backups. No guarantee that.
Well, the backups failed.
Work, but
The backups, yeah, they were having problems.
yeah, but they
with
have some
backups,
other
yeah.
backup. They just put out a press release this afternoon, and they're going to try some other backup
The
system.
one from
backups,
2009? Is this the one from 2009, Carolyn? I'm like,
I don't know. There was
think
no
so, yeah.
detail in the press release. Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty
like,
sure. 'cause
that's
that
still
was the
old.
last servicing mission. Yeah.
yeah,
but-
right.
Yeah.
I also vouch that usually the engineers have a lot of tricks up their sleeve where we tried to turn on and failed is not the end point. Thank goodness.
Yeah, the main computer failed, the backup computer failed, but I'm sure they got 7 more backups.
Well, they were
to
having an issue
run
with
through.
the power supply too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or was that made public? I just knew that because of communication.
Yeah, that I hadn't
Well,
heard.
I was on a Hubble team a bunch of years ago, and so I stay in touch with people. And it's there at the point that I got an email last weekend as well. We're trying this. We're trying this. We're trying this. There's a lot of kind of shots in the dark. What is this gonna? What are we gonna try?
Yeah. It's pretty scary. Well, we've reached the end of our hour of our last episode. I want to give everyone a chance to let us know what they're working on and where people can find out more. Kimberly.
Put me on the spot again. One of my one of my big projects that I've been working on, and I'm going to still be working on for the next couple of weeks, is EOS is doing a special issue in August that is all about exoplanets. Yes, I finally convinced them to talk about exoplanets for a whole month.
Nice.
It took me 4 years of working there, but I finally convinced them. So I've been doing a lot of work on that special issue. Lots of audio stuff and writing and editing and crossword puzzles and just amazing things. So I've been working a lot on that, and that's coming out. I think we're launching towards the end of July. So if you don't get a copy of the magazine, it'll be available on eos.org as a PDF too. And my fingerprints are all over it.
Oh, perfect. All right,
Nice.
Nicholas. So what are you working on? And I think we heard that part, but what are you working on, and where can people find out more about what you're doing?
Honestly, the biggest thing I'm working on right now is figuring out how to transfer from an infant to a regular sleep schedule. It's these little details. She's 5 weeks old today.
Oh, good luck.
Been
We'll
there,
see you
done that.
See you in 5 years.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, I'm trying to get around to processing some data related to detection limits in the Chemin instrument so that I can finally convert that into a paper and make it official that I have results instead of, yeah, this is about where it falls.
And if people want to keep track of what you're doing, where should they go?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
I should
See,
figure out
people
what
say
social
I
media
ask
is.
good questions. I hit you with a real zinger there.
He has a Twitter account. He just doesn't use it.
Do I?
Yes, you do.
If you want, you can put your phone number, and people can just call you and ask you what you're up to. What are you doing now?
Ping him
What are you doing
Just
now?
come on to Discord and ping him there.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
Discord works pretty well. Mercurial Martian. I'm around.
Perfect. Pam.
Hey, yeah, we're doing our Friday night shows every Friday night at 9 p.m. Pacific time. We've got a new citizen science project on Friday, July 2nd. It's going to be Astronomy Rewind. Help us create a database of referenced old astronomy images, and I know some of them are about 100 years old, so that's really cool. I've got 4 guests in the work. One of them scheduled for July 23rd. And there's a new project I found. It's called the Globe at Night. I'm going to talk about that on the 9th. And I'll be flying solo a couple Fridays because Jeff is traveling.
All right.
So check it out.
Have fun working this summer.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Beth, also going to be working this summer?
Also going to be working this summer. The FDL camp, for lack of a better term, is happening over the summer. So there's a bunch of science teams, and we'll be doing all kinds of SETI lives with them. And also on the CosmoQuest side, we have CosmoQuesticon coming up next month.
Oh, yeah.
And so we are in the planning stages of that. And of course, you are all welcome. So
Discord again this year?
Discord and Twitch. It's still going to be a virtual con. So, but I am flying out to Pamela's house, and Allie is our producer is flying out to Pamela's house, and we actually get to meet in person for the first time. I've met Pamela. I have not ever met Allie and Annie, so I'm really excited.
Oh, that's cool.
Meet my colleagues.
All right, Carolyn.
Well, just as the story came out about the exoplanets that might be able to see us, my husband and I released our latest full dome production on exoplanets, so I'm done with that project. And I'm following that story about the large comet because I'm really interested in why it's starting to outgas so far from the sun.
Oh.
And other than that, I'm going to kind of relax this summer. We were kind of full pedal to the metal getting the show done and some other projects, so I got a little bit of other things I need to do. And then there's that star party I'm planning.
Right on.
So if you want to hear more about what I'm doing, I'm at thespacewriter.com.
Morgan.
Well, I was recently interviewed by a lovely journalist at EOS. Oops, I lost my mic. Yeah, I was recently interviewed by a lovely journalist at EOS who was working on a podcast series about non-traditional careers in science. And so you can hear me rant about how terrible an experience that is for several minutes coming soon. And otherwise, you can keep an eye on the magazine and SciShow on YouTube.
Fantastic. Alex.
Yeah, well, I just had my paper published this week on studying the dynamics of planets with multiple moon systems. So that's great to have that out the door. And starting today, I am getting a first student of my own.
What?
Be a mentor for the first time,
right
starting a summer student here. So we're going to be looking for temperate worlds in the ecliptic poles using test data, looking at a huge, something like 50,000. Going to go look at something like 50,000 stars, looking for planets in this data set. So I'm super excited about that. And if you want to follow me, best place to do it is on Twitter, and my handle is just my name @AlexTici.
Perfect. Dave.
I am at AstroGuys with the Z on Twitter. First book. Second book, it's weird to think that this book's been out for a year come just a few weeks from now. It seems like it just came out. I am hatching some ideas for a third book in my brain. Frequent contributor, Universe Today, Sky and Telescope. Hey, there's a copy of my first book. I always call it like my first and a half book, because remember, we did a Sky guide, a PDF guide in 2017 as well. So my first printed published book. So I would like to write one actually on amateur satellite tracking, because there's really no good guides out there.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then I would have something when somebody asks me, how do you know how to find what satellite is that? I could be like, read the book. It tells you how to find what satellite is what. That seems to be mostly what I'm answering on Twitter most of the time. Is like, what satellite am I looking at?
Yeah. I love that. We talked about that. I remember.
Yeah.
I was going to offer this to Molly's cat, but now Molly's cat is gone. So, Molly, you're going to have to answer for your cat. What are you... That's great.
Typical cat.
So what are you working on, and where can people find out more?
So I just moved out to Ohio, and my stuff has not yet been delivered to my house. So I will be working on reassembling my telescopes and working on a dew reduction system to keep the humidity out from underneath of the scope covers during the day and whatnot, or during nights that are cloudy, which is most nights around here, which is sad. And yeah, working on research. In September, am going to be on Mount Wilson's 60-inch for a night.
Nice.
So,
awesome.
Observing on one of their nights where you can go observing. So I'm really excited.
That's a great scope.
That is
wonderful.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The Astro Imaging channel has an excellent lineup over the summer. We don't hiatus, we just keep going. So maybe we should hiatus sometime. But I think we've been going continuously for I think we just had our 7th anniversary. So dedicated group right there. But yeah, we've got an excellent lineup of speakers this summer. We broadcast every Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That's 1:30 a.m. Universal Time for wherever you are, and
6:30 p.m. in Pacific time.
Yeah, 6:30 Pacific.
Cool.
Yeah. So now that I'm in Eastern Time, means that I have to be up very late running the stream for the channel on a Sunday night, which is unfortunate. But
Yeah.
But I have 2 backup streamers now, so I'll probably start passing it off to them on occasion so that I can go to bed on time on Sunday night. So.
That's fantastic. All right, I'm going to put everybody into their gallery view, and of course, I say that I'm going on hiatus, but it's just the live streams. I'm still running Universe Today. I'm still writing the newsletter every week. So if you want your space news, go to universetoday.com/newsletter, and I write that thing every week all by myself. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us for this season finale of the Weekly Space Hangout. What an absolute pleasure to hang out with all of my friends. And a thought to all of those of us, because this is only like half of us. So a thought to all of those who weren't with us this week as well. I hope they all have fun, relaxing, successful summers as well. Thank you everyone for watching us here and on Twitch if you're there. And I want to give a huge thanks to all of the moderators, everybody at the Weekly Space Hangout crew, and of course, Nancy Graziano, who is the heart and soul and the engine that keeps this whole machine rolling. We guaranteed would be much worse a show. Talk about not polished. Imagine if Nancy wasn't working with us here. So thank you, Nancy.
Imagine how bad of an SNL episode it would be.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you all in September.
Have a good summer.
Bye.
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 There's